Hi and welcome to a new video on my channel. In this tutorial I will show you how to make a corner to corner scarf in Tunisian crochet, and this is such a quick and easy project that you can make one in a few days as a present or for your own use. In this case I used a sparkly yarn for a narrow scarf. If you're new here, my name is Andrea and I create Tunisian crochet and regular crochet tutorials and patterns. You will find many of them free on my blog yarnandy.com. For this pattern you can use any yarn and hook combo that gives you a nice fabric that is not see-through, because you choose the width in the beginning and then you continue working straight until you finish with a symmetrical piece at the end, and that's it. If you want to, you can add this kind of fringe. I have a separate tutorial on the channel for this kind of fringe. For this tutorial I will be using this yellow yarn, but the pattern looks great in variegated yarns. So we start with a magic ring, and if you're not familiar with how to start Tunisian crochet in a magic ring, there's a separate tutorial on my channel. We just put the tail in front of the working yarn here to make a loop, insert the hook, pick up a loop, chain one, and repeat this 2 more times. Insert the hook, pick up a loop, chain one, again insert the hook, pick up a loop, chain one, and then we yarn over, pull through 2 twice to finish the foundation row. This is the corner, and you can pull on the tail of the magic ring to close it. Now we will start increasing to create the starting triangle of this project. So we insert the hook between the first 2 stitches to create a full stitch. Pick up a loop. That's a full stitch, which is an increase. Then we have 1 simple stitch and then another full stitch. By inserting the hook in the next space between stitches and drawing up a loop, and then we have the last stitch behind the 2 vertical bars at the end of the row, and then we pick up a loop, chain 1, and yarn over, pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left. Next we increase again by doing a full stitch. We have 3 simple stitches, one more increase with a full stitch, and the last stitch. Then we chain 1 and then yarn over, pull through 2 to the beginning of the row to return. And we repeat this until you are satisfied with the width of your project, which will be this part. So depending on how much yarn you have and how wide you want your project to be, you will continue repeating this. Full stitch, simple stitch across, full stitch, and then last stitch and the return pass until you are happy with the width. This is the fun thing about this pattern, that you can make your rectangle as long and as wide as you like without having to calculate anything beforehand. So I'll make a few more rows so that we have a nice triangle here, and I will meet you when that's finished. Once you're satisfied with the width of your scarf, in my case this is about 8 centimeters or 3.5 inches, and I recommend that you make it at least 10 centimeters wide for at least a bit of coverage. We will continue working the scarf and adding length. We will keep the number of stitches that we have here and increase 1 and decrease 1 on each row. So for that we just repeat 1 row. We have the full stitch in the first stitch, and then we simple stitch across, stopping when we have 1 simple stitch to make. And instead of making this simple stitch, we just skip it and go straight to the end to make the last stitch. And chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2, And that's it. We repeat this all across. There is an alternative way of doing this with a Tunisian simple stitch 2 together, so I will show you that as well. At the beginning we have the same thing. We have a full stitch and then we simple stitch across until we have 2 stitches left to make. And if you're not sure which is the last stitch, put a stitch marker in it so that you know when to stop. So we have 2 stitches left to make, and we do a Tunisian simple stitch 2 together by inserting the hook under the 2 vertical bars and picking up a loop. Then we have the last stitch, chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2. This is an alternative if you don't want to skip the last stitch, for example, if it's not easy for you to see where the last simple stitch should be. So as you can see, we have a corner here now, and we can continue like this. Just repeat this until you're satisfied with the length of your project, and you measure the length on this side, because the other side will have a piece missing from it, a triangle shape. So again, we have 2 stitches here unworked. We can do a decrease and then last stitch, chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2. But I prefer the method with the skipped stitch on the edge because it's just invisible. It will take some time for the shape to emerge, a few more rows at least. So I will make a few more rows and I will see you in a few seconds to show you how to finish off the rectangle. Once you are happy with the length of your project along this edge, I would say between 1.5 and 2 meters or 5 to 6 feet, you can start squaring off the corner here. And to do that, we stop increasing and we actually decrease. So we either skip the first stitch or make a Tunisian simple stitch 2 together at the beginning, and then skip the last stitch or make a Tunisian simple stitch 2 together at the end of the row. I will show you the first method first with skipping, so just skip the first stitch here and do simple stitches all across until you have 1 simple stitch left to make. Then skip that stitch and do the last stitch, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and then chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2 to do the return pass. Or if you want to do the alternative, insert the hook under the vertical bars of the next 2 stitches, pick up a loop, and then do simple stitches until you have 2 simple stitches left to do. And then insert the hook under the vertical bars of the next 2 stitches, pick up a loop, and then do the last stitch and then the return pass. You can choose either of these methods. Again, I prefer the method with skipping, just because you don't see this extra loop here. So you repeat this row until you run out of stitches. And you have just 1 simple stitch to make here. Make 1 simple stitch, last stitch, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. And then if you want to cut the yarn, you yarn over and pull the end through the last stitch here. Otherwise, you can just go into making the fringe. So that's it. That's the rectangular scarf worked on the bias with simple stitches. Of course, you can use this method to make other things as well, such as blankets and placemats and pillowcases and anything you can think of. But this is great for yarns that have this shorter gradient or variegation to make scarves with that yarn. You can also use a combination of stitches here in the main fabric. You can use a lace pattern for the triangle and then to continue into the main body and to the end if you want something fancy like a wrap. So I think I will design something like that in the future, but they all have this same structure going on where you start with a triangle, you continue with rows of equal lengths worked on a diagonal, and then you finish with the final triangle where you decrease on both ends. I hope you give this easy technique a try, and if you do, let me know what you're making. You'll find me on socials at Yarnandy, or you could always reply to my emails with photos of your projects. I always love seeing those. If you want to know when I publish more tutorials, make sure to subscribe to my emails. So I will see you there. Bye.